Everybody thinks buying properties at trustee sales is making out like a bandit, like a train robbery, old style. Is it? I don't know. You watch this video and find out for yourself. Episode number 30 from the trenches. Today we're going to talk about trustee sales. Now, in the world of real estate entrepreneurs, trustee sale people are a whole nother breed. In fact, I've only bought like 3 properties in my life from the trustee sale. It's probably the hardest way to buy properties because you can't get in there. You got to pay cash in 24 hours. And it's really just one of those things that's like not for the faint of heart. It's definitely not for the newer investors. It's like the Wild West out there. Buying stuff kind of like unseen. You can't get in there. You don't know what the tenants are going to do. Wild world. It's a whole new breed of investors that just lives in that world. So check out this story. You literally go out front of the courthouse, and you're like outside of the courthouse, but on the steps, or if there's no steps, you're just in front of the courthouse, and there's an attorney there, and he just reading his paper and property address, and they just read all this legalese, and they say the opening bid is $256,000. Do we have any other bidders? They look around, and then somebody will say a bid, and as soon as somebody bids, they'll say, okay, can I see your cashier's check? And they'll make sure they got a $20,000 cashier's check. Great, you're authorized to bid. Okay, any other bidders? If you were the winning bid, you give your $20,000 cashier's check, and the balance that you bid is owed cash in 24 hours. So you've got basically the next day to pay it. The next business day, you've got to pay the balance. And if you don't, you lose your $20,000 cashier's check. So a friend of mine lives in a neighborhood in Farmington, and this house was coming up for sale in his neighborhood. We recognized that the house is probably worth, with an unfinished basement, probably $375,000, with a finished basement, $420,000. When you're working with a trustee sale, having some inside knowledge is everything. You can comp the house and see what you think it's going to sell for, but knowing, is the basement finished or not, or what's going on with the house, are these people going to be hard to get out of the house? There's just all these number of things that with a trustee sale that are a total gamble. We went down there, had a $20,000 cashier's check, and there was a few other people there. The opening bid comes at $256,000, and we bid, and somebody else bid, and there's competitive bidding kind of up to $270,000, $275,000. It kind of started to slow down a little bit. So we thought, okay, we're gonna get this house for $275,000, right? So one guy kind of dropped out at like $276,000, and another guy who hadn't been bidding, but was on the phone in the corner, he popped in and he started bidding. It's really weird like that. It's very much a cliquish, good old boys club. Some people might bid against somebody else, but not bid against you, or vice versa, right? It's very much like, or they might partner up on a deal. If you're a newcomer there, you got to make sure you know what your top line is and be able to stick by that, because I have somebody that's really might be bidding you up. This might be driving your bid because they don't want you coming back to the trustee sale. The bidding ran all the way up to $300,000, and that was kind of our max. We wanted to pay about $300,000 for this house. We didn't want to pay much more, but we actually got the house for $300,300. So $300,300. So we went $300 over our max bid. What we want to do from here is find a buyer as quick as possible, just kind of clean it up to whatever level we need to, and sell it. And I'd like to sell it for under market, just get rid of it as fast as possible, rather than even putting it on the market for $375,000 and waiting for a buyer. I'd rather sell it to somebody real quick at $340,000, $350,000 and let somebody get in there and have a good deal. But we'll see how this ends up going. Just bought a house at a foreclosure auction. Now I get the pleasure of going to tell the people that are living there that they can't live there anymore. So I've got to deliver a 5-day notice to terminate tenancy at will, or notice to quit. And I'm just going to pull up to the house, and not really quite sure what's going to happen here. So this is a first for me, going and knocking on somebody's door and letting them know that I bought their house at a trustee sale. When there's people occupying the house, after you buy a house at a trustee sale, but it's not vacant, then you then have to go serve a 5-day notice to vacate. And then also, more than anything, you kind of want to build a relationship and see who these people are, and are they going to fight you? Are you going to have to evict them? Or kind of what's going to go on there, So I went there, I drove up to the house, and I don't know these people. Here's the house right here. Trash cans out and everything. I literally went up and knocked on the front door, and the lady came to the door. I feel for her. I mean, I've got a wife and kids, and I recognize that going through a foreclosure like that, and she informed me at the time that they'd built that home and they'd lived in that home for 8 years, and But, she was nice about it, and I said, hey, I'm sorry. I recognize this is awkward. And she said, you know what, it is what it is, and we kind of were expecting this. I said, here's the official 5-day notice, but what are you guys thinking? And this was Monday, and she said, well, we'd like to have through the next weekend. So I said, okay, so 7 days till next Monday. So I left and was going about my day, and then I kept missing this phone call from a number, and I didn't recognize the number, and they left a message and said, hey, this is Mike, give me a call. And I didn't know who he was, and I called him back, and turns out it was her husband.
Yeah, you dropped a 5-day off.
Yeah.
Listen, I need to ask you a favor. I know you're antsy and you've got stuff to do. I'm probably a little smarter than the average bear that's going through this process and have better legal representation.
So I'm thinking, oh, great. You got a guy now that's thinking he wants money or he wants to exact, I don't know what from me. He wants longer, I don't know what he wants. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, what do you want here?
I'm hoping that you can give me till the end of the month.
Oh, well, I talked to your wife about, let's see, next Monday, 7 days, which was like, that's pretty much the end of the month, isn't it?
If I could have till the end of the month, just get everything shifted around and done. Because I do have like a car in the garage and some stuff that's going to be a little harder to move. It'd make my life just that much easier.
So I was kind of relieved by that. And I said, look, if I can give you that extra 4 or 5 days, so basically giving them almost 12 days to live there instead of the 5, rent-free in my house.
Let me do this. If I give you till August 1st, it's just a few more days after that, so you can do what you need to do. Your wife already said she can give me the keys and garage opener. If you guys will just keep the yard green and keep it clean, the utilities. I know you guys are going to do that.
I figured, one, it's being human, it's being nice to the guy, but two, it's also protecting my investment because he could do a lot more damage on the way out of that house that I really can't do much about. So it's better to be cordial with the people there and get them out instead of having a fight. I think it's always better to be cordial instead of having a fight.
I'll leave the sprinklers all turned on. I'm not out to hurt anybody. I kind of assumed that that Bank of America would end up owning this, and but I'd love to show you. There's been some water issues with the house. There is a crack in the foundation.
Okay.
There's some stuff that, and I'm happy to help you out where I can.
So that crack in the foundation,
Yeah, where was it?
right here, and it leaks.
And this part right now leaks?
Yeah. And then the seam under the windows leaks.
So all the windows or these windows?
These two typically. There's a pump out here and there's a sump there. Well, there's not one in there. There's 2 out in that little gravel strip.
Okay.
That have sprinkler boxes on them. I just drop that pump in and run it out into the ravine.
Buying a trustee sale is really one of the riskiest ways you can buy it because most of the time you can't get in the property, especially when it's occupied. If it's not occupied, you can probably get in the house. But if it's occupied, you don't know what condition it's in. This one, it was a newer house, and we had kind of a knowledge of the neighborhood, and we knew some of their neighbors and friends. So we thought, okay, we know generally what this house is like. But the other people that were bidding against us, they didn't know that.
But when it's really heavy rain, this fills up, that fills up.
The window wells fill up.
Yeah.
And then once they fill up to here, it starts coming in.
Yeah, but if you keep a pump going out there, it typically will alleviate most of it because it is sloped out underneath the patio. But my landscape guy went up basically to the same level of the patio, and then we laid sod on top of that. So the whole yard, really, to make it right, either the deck needs to come up 4 inches or the yard needs to go down 4 to 6. That's just not something I ever cared to mess with too much.
Yeah.
I'm not the least bit bitter about any of this, and I appreciate you being cool with a few extra days. It's really been a relief for me. Just because it's, with work changes and stuff, it's been nice. You've been great to deal with. Bank of America sucks. Yeah. But once you got involved, everything's been smooth. And we did have people coming in and peeking over the fence, taking pictures. And,
really?
Yeah, just weird stuff.
When I was talking to him on the phone, he said, yeah, some people were coming by, and they knocked on the door, and his 10-year-old daughter came out, and they said, hey, can we come in? Can we have a look around? Can we look in the basement? And she's like, no, she didn't let him in. I'm thinking, how brazen do you have to be as an auction investor to go in there, and when you've got somebody, a 10-year-old that's home, and try to get in the home with this 10-year-old, talk this 10-year-old to letting you in the basement. It's business, but it's also you you got to take care of the people that are, you realize it's a human thing too, right?
And like, I get it. But like to knock on someone's door and ask a 10-year-old if you can come in the house and look around is a little bizarre.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're supposed to do that. I mean, that's like kind of, I don't know.
Was that like, do you feel like that was the mortgage company, or was that like investors?
It was investors, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
It was just dudes who don't beat up Toyota Camrys, you know. It wasn't
Yeah.
anybody that looked like me.
Yeah. When this process happens every day in America, there's two sides of it, right? There's the investor side, and I think I told her I don't do this a lot, but there's other investors that do that stuff that I feel like is unethical.
Yeah.
But then there's the story that you guys, times a lot of people in America, like that's the story that it's real people and it's real lives and it's.
Yeah, it's a crappy deal. You know, we're not real busted up about it, but it sucks. The whole thing sucks, and it's nice. Like, just that you've been courteous about it and not intrusive and not, trying to just put us out on the street, and that's appreciated for sure.
Yeah.
I know that's not always the case.
Any words for Bank of America? were they kind to you? Did they treat you well?
Yes and no. They're not helpful at all. That's frustrating, where you just get kind of locked into limbo for a while. But
in a normal situation, if somebody doesn't make their mortgage payment for 90 days, generally the bank will start a foreclosure. So if you don't pay the first 30 days, they'll send you a notice. Next 30 days, they'll send you something. Generally after 90 days late, they'll start the foreclosure process. They'll do notice of default and the bank will just stall, hoping I guess the people will catch it up. Even though they could do that process in 3 to 4 months, a lot of times they'll wait a year and a half. I've seen it a long time from the notice of default, which is the official foreclosure notice, to when they actually sell it at the courthouse steps. It can be a while. The reason why the banks are slow to foreclose, in most instances, in my opinion, is they don't want their books to look bad, their financial books to look bad. Banks are in the business of lending money. And if you've got a performing loan, meaning somebody is paying you on time, that looks really good on your books. If you've got a loan where somebody's not performing, that doesn't look good on your books. And if you have property that you've taken back, that you own, that looks really bad on your books. If you get so many losses like that, they might lose their ability to lend, and that's where they make their money. So that's why they don't like those losses. They don't want to realize those losses. So sometimes they'll forestall that for a year, 2, 3, because they don't want their books to look bad. Their books still look good until they realize that loss. So it's in their best interest to have their books look good, even though they're actually losing money because they don't have a performing loan, they're not receiving any interest on that. That you think, well, that's bad for their books. It's worse for their books to realize the loss.
There it was, the wild west of trustee sales. I made 400 big ones. I don't plan on joining the trustee sale club anytime soon. I'll stick with buying properties that I can walk through, have inspections, not have to close in 24 hours, and get a title policy.
Owen.
Train robbery. You gonna give me that loot? No, I'm not gonna give you the loot. You better give me that loot. Hand it over, I'm gonna come take it. I'm not gonna give it to you. Give me that loot.
That's wacky. That's just plain wacky,
like
slap happy.
Good old-fashioned train robbery. Got it.